Alright guys, here we are. We're going to start a video. Topic of this video is we have been lied to about marriage. Before we get down to that fact though, we have to discuss the history of marriage. Marriage was a necessity to raise children in the long past, tribal days, pre-modern society, pre what we know of today. It was just a matter of survival. Men and women had to come together in order to procreate, and one of them had to stay and raise a child, and one of them had to go out and work, fend for the whole family, and hunt, gather, you name it. So it was just part of survival. It was part of the fabric that was humans, and it worked. It's what nature intended. You kind of fast forward to when we started to adopt a lot more ceremony, and religion became a bigger factor in how a man and a woman would come together, and you would have it as like an expectation that either the religion or the societal norms of the tribe, village, city, whatever, uh, definitely pre-modern society, it was expected. It was just what you did. It wasn't enough people on this world. It just, nature was still pretty bitter and harsh to people, and you just needed to come together and work, and just do what we were born to do. And I'll be fair, definitely I will admit that the dynamics between men and women, pre-modern, like 1920s, the dynamics would, women were not treated on equal footing as men. That was, I think at this point, is unequivocal truth. And so, since they were not on equal footing, they were treated differently, of course. And their role, it was just their expected role was to be a stay-at-home mother, to be a wife, to be the woman that just did the womanly things. And the men did the men things, and that was the dynamics for pretty much all of our history of humanity. Marriages adopted, of course, like I said, ceremony from religion. Dowries were a thing, because women were not seen on equal footing, and men, you had to kind of sweeten the deal for a man to take on a woman, and he would have to forego any other woman, and he would have to start supporting that woman and raising the children. And usually it was customary that the bride's family would give a dowry as a thank you for taking care of her. Thank you for investing your time in our daughter, even though you don't have to. And back then, marriages weren't typically done out of love. They were done either from family obligations, societal obligations, bringing two houses together, bringing two kingdoms together. It was very customary to, or two villages together, and it worked. That is what worked. Then you come to the modern age, where you have the women's suffrage movement, like pre-1920s. It was kind of kicking up, and women were starting to get more equal footing rights as men. And then you had basically where women became equal with men in the sense of the law, by the 1960s. Uh, Around that time, men still knew how to treat women. Men still knew, and women knew their place. There were a few that didn't want to be the wife, and I get that, but the vast majority of women still knew their place, and it was, and society at large was still working. The paradigm of a man, a woman, a family, the platonic family, it was still working because women knew their place and men knew their place. Of course, since the 1960s, there's been that new wave of women's movement where women wanted to be on equal footing. And you also had a subsection of that where there was a certain group of women that wanted more than just equal footing. They wanted to be better. They wanted more rights. They wanted to take control. And you started to see from basically the 1960s on a paradigm shift, or you might want to call a pendulum swing, where men slowly became the second class in society. They slowly became the group that was hated on, not the underdog, but the ones that were belittled. It's just, it's society changed to the point where men were told to stop acting like men and start acting like women. And women were basically encouraged and told that their birthright was they can do whatever they want and no repercussions. And that took flame. That thinking took hold, and now you have the offspring from the generations of 1980, 1990s, 2000s, 2010. You have that generation being brought up that way in a world where men were bad and women are good, and they can do no wrong. And you see divorce rates skyrocket. You see the children suffer from it. You see children growing up in single parent family homes. Lives suffer. Family laws have changed in favor of women. Hands down, no one can argue with that. It's just what it is. And unfortunately, men haven't been taught anything. They're actually behind in times. We haven't been, there's been no playbook for us. There've been no updates for us. We're still playing by the rule books of pre-1960, where both sides knew their place. And this is where we as men have been lied to. We have been lied that get a woman, marry, have children, and you're happy. And that would have worked if the other side was playing by the rules, but they weren't. And unfortunately, they were playing by the rules of get a husband, pilfer him of his money, divorce rape him, do whatever you want because you are infallible, and basically live the way you want. And unfortunately, that's how women are doing it today. And men have not caught up to the times. And unfortunately, right now, we have to educate. That is our duty now. And that's what I'm doing in this YouTube video. We have to educate other men, even young boys, teenagers. We have to start educating them that we have to come up with our own playbook, or we will continually lose to the matriarchy, to how it is run today. We have to take back ourselves, and men have to become men again. That is the only way. All right. Thank you for listening. I look forward to making more videos, and you have a good rest of your day.